Hello, I'm Rich Malloy, and I'm looking at the Sunflower School District case study, and I wanted to go through my findings and be as brief as possible. So I embedded a link at the end of this video to the document, and I expect that I'll be including that as well. The first question that they had, Roman numeral 1, what do we know? And I thought about where we get the information from. So, though it's understated, I thought what was very important was the notes from Superintendent Watkins, I believe the name was. And that simply talked about the quantitative student district reading and math scores. Half of the students weren't passing it or were not proficient. That's obviously very, very significant. The second piece of information that I wanted to think about was the climate survey. Now, while the district reading and math scores I would consider to be data that would, you could look at and research, I thought the second tier, the survey, provided some insights into perceptions. I would make the distinction between data and perception. But you have 37 teachers, and 75% of those teachers grade the facilities at a C or less. Well, obviously that's a problem. 45%, should be percent, want to leave the district. They also had approximately a third that were speaking about missing more than 4 days with illnesses, sinus problems, bronchitis, that was somehow related to the facility and the environment itself. If I dig a little deeper into the participants, they argue for better community involvement. They don't get support from the community. They're not funded as well. But as a strength, and if I look for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the strength was 86% of these same people would volunteer to be part of the improvement process. Now, I'm just looking at a clipped little slide here. As far as the facilities went, the classrooms were too small. The gym was inadequate. Art and music spaces were not adequate. The floors were seen as terribly neglected. And by the way, the last piece, what we know. I would look at the news clippings as an indication of community perception. I would also be aware that anonymously written notes or articles like that obviously are to get your attention to something. I don't know how reliable they are. I wouldn't consider it gospel, but I'd keep it in the back of my head. So, now that we have that, what do we need to know, or what can we do immediately? Well, I would immediately, step 2, examine the lead and the lead paint. I'd meet with the custodians and the principal, and I'd obviously make this within the first several days, the first week. And I'd like to know what data exists. I'm not asking that in an accusatory way. But what do we know? Have we been testing the water? If so, what are the readings? And how do they hold up to state and local guidelines? Lead should be an easy place to begin. I also look at that climate survey, and it seems to refer to problems with windows, and it talks about leaking. Leaking can mean a lot of things. They talk about steam escaping from windows, and things of that sort. Obviously, we're also thinking about standing water, so we'll discuss that. I'm interested in mold. And earlier in the course, we talked about the 4 horsemen of facilities management. Mold is obviously a big part of it. When we have folks talking about allergies and bronchitis and sinus trouble, and they're openly talking about mold damage, the next question to the staff, can we observe it? And can we view the damage as reported? I would consider something you can take a picture of what we know. Is it related to leaks or the humidity? I know just firsthand. I'm 40 miles inland right now. 3 other days of the week, I'm on the shore of Lake Michigan. The humidity is very different between the two. Is there standing water inside or out of the facility in the external areas? I'm interested in storm drains. I'm interested in anything that drains water. Do those drains work? Which brings us to what we need to find out. We need to think about air quality. Why are people sick? And with that rather coarse note that was provided, is there a kernel of truth in it? Are the children sick, and does that affect their performance? We need to look at the air quality, and we need to do it fast. How about the water? I'm thinking in terms of standing water, but I also obviously have noted we need to think about lead levels and things of that sort. And finally, mold. And mold is always an issue that is there that needs to be addressed. And if it's not addressed, then you're just going to be reacting to it. So some of the four horsemen are present here. One more thought before I move ahead. In terms of what we know and those sources of information in that empty office there, I'm picturing during the summer for some reason, between the spring and fall semesters, each of those, the survey, those articles, reflect a need for people to be involved. It's somebody else's problem. Well, in the school system, it's somebody else's problem because the involvement and engagement is poor. That's one other thing that I think we know. So step 3, how about a plan of action? We need people to be included and not blamed. That last part is critical. Too often, it's a top-down management style, going from the custodians to the maintenance staff, and somehow an army of fingers pointing from the staff or from the teachers. So we need to convene all staff and discuss the survey results. And it's important that the administrators are listening. I would almost consider it a listening session. I think we've all sat through in-services where somebody talked at us or to us. We need to involve folks. I would even consider possibly the not very original practice of the Post-it notes and 4 priorities. If you were going to improve your classroom space, what would it look like? What would it be? How about the hallways? Something like that. I would look, number 2, for opportunities to try to use staff talents and the willingness to gain better use of the community, from the community, excuse me. What I mean by that is 86% of these people who don't seem very happy have suggested they're willing to become involved. Without abusing that, what would that look like? I would suggest one plan of action would be engaging the community by hosting events. Think of it as, I guess I was going to say an open house. That has a different connotation. Almost a party atmosphere. And in my write-up, I have every other month, starting with over the summer. I want to partner my kindergarten through grade 5 levels through the school librarian with the public library, have a reading contest. Each grade level, those that read more than 15 books, maybe I'm low on that, receive 4 tickets to the state fair or Six Flags or whatever the venue in the community near Sunflower would be. The student that reads the most books can go to the homecoming game and conduct a coin flip or something in the community, which I think in an engaged community would be kind of a thrill for a kid in grade school. I would then look at October as a harvest festival. I mentioned water. I'm going to spoil it myself here. Reuse the water, rain barrels, for horticulture, projects which are done through the science classes at the grade school level, growing things. You can have a contest in certain areas, however it would work. That was October. December, I believe I put that for a SumoBot competition. The lights just went out on me here, the timers. SumoBots with the STEM students from the middle school and high school levels competing against one another for a prize. I thought in February we could have a midwinter concert, show off our theater. We've already showed off the gymnasium. We've shown off the outdoors. Use our music students, again, middle school, high school, and use our staff there. The key here is trying to bring people to campus, have them use our facilities, and presume some ownership. They are stakeholders, and if they feel alienated, that's going to be very bad in the future. As I think about the final part of our assignment, as you alienate politically, you damage your organization, your school district. Each event should be a partnership. SumoBots with hardware or computer vendors in the area. The public library, so on and so forth. My large expenditure in the plan of action is the HVAC system. From everything I've read, after our inspections, thinking about the air intake, which was damaged by the birds and the bird waste, think about spending to save. Now, as I sit here in Elkhorn on a rainy day, there's a metal roof above me. I went and checked with the campus dean and actually his associate. It is largely maintenance-free, has been in the 15, 20 years since it was put up. It has to come with the HVAC system because it needed to be put there for the ductwork. I would choose a metal roof. You would save in the cost of maintaining it. You would seal properly, be able to pitch it so that the runoff would not leak into the building, possibly taking care of a mold situation and done properly with maybe some duct working or some tuck pointing, taking care of water runoff. I would also reseal all the windows and plan to phase in a 5-year replacement to gas-insulated windows, which again, I'm looking at the savings in utility costs in heating and cooling. I'm interested in trying to see if I can improve and reduce and remove mold concerns. I also, in my plan of action, want an automated ticket system so we can be proactive. Everything I've seen, the survey, the articles, are reactive. Now let's see if we can do something in real time. Resolved, I just covered that the HVAC expense controls temperature along with humidity to get rid of mold. I mentioned air intake issues. That could be a toxic problem from the video we saw in New Jersey, I believe it was, where they did their site visit. It requires a roof. I would advocate for a metal roof because that metal roof, I think, can also save you a lot of repairs and a lot of expense. It should last 50 years, according to the dean's office. Again, it's pitched to drain better. It should eliminate leaks, and the water can be reused. And barrel system to improve the exterior for landscaping and plants. So how is this resolved? Within the first year, I'd like to see better student results and attendance, and that would involve standard number 2. Better collaboration between the community and school. I need to establish what's a pretty disjointed relationship. That's standard number 1. I want better and more involved community supporting and use for the school. I like the way I worded that. Those would be standards 5 and 6, and the tickets would provide better data collection. I forgot to cite the standard. I believe it was 3 off the top of my head. But those combined should help us get a better learning environment for the students. I tried to consider the standards in this presentation and focus upon a shared management system. The HVAC impaired, the roof will eliminate leaks, Water is a long-term project and better community